You know that moment when you have this wonderful idea, you put pen to paper and you start coding or you start building, and then about 20 minutes later, you're in an absolute mess and you just think, I should have just had that coffee instead of going ahead and building this. I've done it, you've done it, we've all done it. And actually speaking, it's so common that it's about time we all spoke about it and we all stopped doing it, including me. So what do we do to stop ourselves from this? Well, the first thing is that I think it's time we all started acknowledging the power of planning. So when we come to build something, having a framework in mind is so valuable because actually it takes away a lot of the stress. It means that we do a lot of the work up front and we can evaluate, is it worth putting our time and energy into building the agent? In the next video, we're actually going to be understanding what's a good framework for building agents, how can we use it, more importantly, let's start building. So let's start with the problem first. The problem is quite clear that whenever someone joins my team, they have to spend a lot of time reading through documentation and often it's scattered everywhere. They ask a lot of questions and it's quite repetitive, especially when all the graduates are coming in September. So this is a high volume task that really does need some looking after. We keep getting asked, who's my IT contact? Who do I need to meet? Do I need to get anything signed? And we had an agent that helped someone do all the onboarding all in once. And also remember that not everyone enjoys speaking and asking all these questions. Hopefully they enjoy speaking, but what I mean. So apart from the segue to the office, it's about time we actually understood the problem, understood the business, planned for the agent, and then build the agent. So first of all, that's a great framework. Make sure you understand the problem, then understand the business. How is it going to fit in? Who's going to use it? Plan for it, and then build for it. So if you remember back to when you first got your first job, you have to ask a bunch of questions. Where do I find this? How many days off do I have? You then have to speak to HR. You have one HR coordinator. You have to go and pick up your laptop, understand what you can and can't do all the safety, security, cybersecurity. There's a lot to do. And onboarding can take quite a bit of time, and you know what it's like in the first few weeks. You're just inundated with information and you don't want to keep asking the same questions, but it's hard. I've exaggerated the numbers here, but you can see that this is a real cost. And I'm pretty sure that it doesn't cost £55,000 a year, but the point is, do the maths. Then it's about understanding the business. So what does the company need? What are the key steps that at every hire has to go through? Then what information exists? Most companies have a company handbook, they have a role guide. And it's really important that we understand the business. What does the company need? More specifically, what are the key steps that happen at every stage regardless of hire type? Then what information already exists? We're talking your handbooks, your onboarding documents, all the things that you have to sign when you start the company. Also, what's the current process? I remember in my first job, I was handed a big manual and told, hey, all the answers will be in there. Did I read it? I read a bunch of it, but it would have been a lot simpler if I could just go through, index all my questions and just type it in, because it was hard and I know I forgot a lot of the questions. So what will the agent actually solve? It provides instant accurate answers to first-time onboarders. So we're talking people who are in the first 30 days of their new hire journey. And it means that we don't have to ask silly questions over and over again. It makes it smoother for the person joining the company and hopefully they enjoy it and it's a better experience. Now, often we do this because it's quite important to, take the current business stakeholders along in this journey. So it's important to map out the current process. And here's just an example that I've created. I got this 40-page document. You figure out who to ask. You start interrupting people. You get a bit annoying. You meet your team. You get your laptop, hopefully. Sometimes it takes a few weeks. And then finally, a month in, you finally start to become productive. That's quite laborious. So instead of doing all of this, we're going to define what the scope is. So our agent is going to figure out how to help in day one tasks, help the new hire identify the right people to contact. It helps us to signpost which forms need signing, understand key company policies, and any role-specific processes. What's out of scope is the actual signing of the documents, the assignment of laptops, and background checks. That's just all done by someone else. Our agent doesn't do that. And why we do this is that it makes it really easy to know if our agent is successful or not. Because if it's in scope and it does what it needs to, then it's successful. If it's out of scope and it doesn't do that, great. But by having these parameters, you know what you're building for and you can start defining how you're going to build it. The next step is to understand what documents your agent needs to be grounded in. So, for instance, we were talking about that 40-page employee handbook. Well, our agent will need to know that inside out, so we'll have to ground the agent in this. We'll come on to what that means, but for now, that term grounding, it's quite an important one. Then there's the onboarding checklist, there's the org chart, there's the benefits guide. Now, these will vary organization to organization. The point is there's going to be some documents that you will have to provide to the agent that it will use to kind of source the answers which it's requested for. Then comes planning the agent. So what does it answer? What do I do on day one, for example? It will answer task-specific questions. It will identify key people to direct you towards. It will help you to navigate policies and maybe even go as far as to tell you which role you're in and which part of the team you've fit into. Again, as part of the planning, it's really important we define the personality of the agent. So it might sound simple and it might sound like it's a given, but friendly and welcoming. Day one hires. We don't want to be mean. We don't want to be too direct. We need to be clear and concise. It's very likely that they won't know any of the 3-letter acronyms that everyone's speaking of. So plain English, no jargon. Now, one of the things that also we need to be very clear on, we need to put guardrails in. And the reason for that is agents have access to a lot of information and we need to be very specific that they can talk about certain things, but they cannot talk about other things. And that's because everything needs rules and agents in particular must have rules, otherwise they can override certain features unexpectedly. Then comes actually thinking through the test scenarios. So what happens on my first day? And when I put this in, I would expect a day one checklist and some specific tasks that I would need to do. I'd also, when I ask about remote work, I'd want remote policies to be shown and maybe even just explanation of times, how I manage that, who I need to tell about this. So again, I built some test scenarios that allow us to understand what the agent should do and therefore what good looks like. Now, we're about to start building the agent. So join me in the next part where we actually start making this magic.